Hello, my name is Sam Barker and welcome to this week's show. So we're going to start by rounding up this weekend's Premier League fixtures. Well, that was easy, wasn't it? Now, as you're probably aware, there were no Premier League fixtures this weekend. It was FA Cup weekend, so we'll just touch on that briefly. So there were a number of tasty-looking fixtures in this round, and the highlight was probably Manchester City versus Chelsea. The second match they've played in as many weeks. Pellegrini was very much looking to get revenge on Mourinho, and he did. They walked away with a 2-0 victory, which is good because recently Mourinho's been chatting an awful lot of rubbish about Pellegrini, about Wenger. So it was quite nice to see him lose a competition that he loves. The other big clash of the tie was Arsenal against Liverpool, which was also a rematch for a match a couple of weeks ago, where Arsenal were very much looking to get revenge on Liverpool after the 5-1 drubbing they received. And they did manage to get revenge with a 2-1 victory to knock Liverpool out of the cup. In the other all Premier League matches, Sunderland continued their fine cup form with a 1-0 victory over Southampton, whilst Everton beat Swansea 3-1. Perhaps one of the shocks of the round was League One's Sheffield United beating in-form Nottingham Forest. Forest were previously unbeaten in 16 but lost 3-1 courtesy of 2 late goals. Last year's champions Wigan also won 2-1 against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's Cardiff. A worldie of a free kick from Ben Watson, you may have heard his name in relation to the FA Cup in the last year, was the eventual winner. And finally, Brighton and Hull drew 1-1, which means they will face a replay. And the other match, Sheffield Wednesday versus Charlton, was postponed at the weekend, so that will be played at a later date. But the big news of this week has been the return of the Champions League. It always seems like a long time between the group stages and the knock-up stages, but they're back. And my word, we've had some good matches this week. But firstly, before we look at the matches that have already been played and the upcoming matches, I asked you guys who you thought would win. 4 of you responded, and you all gave different answers. Now, Rob suggested Bayern, who are probably the team I would go for as well, and his reasoning is very sound, really. They've already run away with the league. They're way out in front, ahead of their rivals, so they can fully concentrate on the Champions League now. Despite me saying that anyone who picked Man United was bonkers, Mo's done it anyway. But again, his reasoning is relatively sound because if they don't win it, they're not going to be in the competition next year. Now, Gary also messaged in and he believes PSG, and he's going to attribute that to the signing of Kabay, who he believes is just going to feed Ibrahimovic goals. Of course, Ibrahimovic would probably claim that they were all made by himself, but then most of them are. And finally, a little bit of a curveball, this one. It's an interesting choice from Fraser, saying Southampton. He believes that Southampton will bribe UEFA with tickets and chocolate. And people say there's corruption in football. Not even Platini could turn down a free Mars bar. So what happened in the matches this week? Well, it was disappointment for both of the English sides. Arsenal and Manchester City both lost 2-0, both at home, both in very similar circumstances, really. So we'll start with City, as that was the game that was played first on Tuesday night. They played relatively well against Barcelona, but they made one major problem. Demichelis. Yeah, Demichelis played. I watched the match and I was making relatively persistent jokes about him throughout the entire thing. And those jokes paid off as he then proceeded to get sent off early in the... This led to a somewhat contested penalty. I don't think it was, but I don't think it really mattered, as Barcelona probably would have won anyway. Messi scored on 54 minutes to put them into the lead. And then right at the end, Dani Alves scored a second to probably kill off the tie. However, there is hope for Manchester City because Demichelis' red card means he's not available for the second leg, which can only be a good thing. At the Emirates, it was a very thrilling 0-0 first half, as first Mesut Ozil missed a penalty, then Wojciech Szczesny got sent off, and then David Alaba managed to miss the following penalty. However, as with at City on 54 minutes, the opposition took the lead through a wonderful goal from Toni Kroos. And once again, as at City, the tie was killed off right at the death as Thomas Müller scored a close-range header on 88 minutes. It's hard to see either of those teams winning the second leg, but Arsenal did win 2-0 last year in Bayern, so you never know. In the other fixtures, Bayer Leverkusen lost at home 4-0 to a rampant PSG, led of course by the wonderful Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And in a very tasty second fixture, AC Milan lost narrowly 1-0 at home to Atletico Madrid, courtesy of a late goal from the kind of out of form, but on the season as a whole, really quite in form, Diego Costa. It's interesting that in those 4 matches, none of the home teams scored, all of the away teams won, so I'm predicting that all 4 of those teams will go through. Now next week we have 4 more fixtures, the first of which is Zenit versus Borussia Dortmund. I'm not entirely sure how Zenit have been doing this season. I haven't seen a lot of them play, but I know Dortmund are in really poor form so far this year. That could be an interesting one, and I could potentially see an upset there. It would not surprise me if Zenit won. And also on Tuesday night, Olympiacos take on Manchester United at home. Wow, that will be a match for David Moyes. Moyes has really got to win that one. I do think the fact that Olympiacos sold Mitroglou to Fulham, even though for some strange reason he isn't playing, will be a huge factor, and I do think United will probably win that over 2 legs, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as everyone is suggesting, even though Moyes has got United playing well in Europe this season. Wednesday sees the return of Didier Drogba as Galatasaray take on Chelsea in what is bound to be a tasty affair. Over 2 legs, I think Chelsea will probably have enough. They've got a lot of informed players. Hazard's playing very well, Willian as well, so I think they'll probably nick it. And the final tie is Schalke versus Real Madrid. On paper, to those of you that don't follow European football, it probably looks like a walkover for Real Madrid, but Schalke are in good form since the start of the second half of the Bundesliga. So don't be surprised if that one's maybe a little bit closer than you think. Do I want to say it's going to be an upset? No, but I'm very tempted. So there we have it, the Champions League. It's been a great start. Hopefully next week it will continue, and then of course we move on to the second legs. I wish all the English teams well in the competition, apart from Manchester City, of course. Demichelis. And also good luck to Tottenham and Swansea, who take part in the Europa League tonight. I'll probably do a Europa League special as we get a little bit further into the competition, if we have any England teams left. England teams? Definitely meant English teams, or Welsh. Welsh even. British. Let's go with British. British teams left. So next week will be a return to the more conventional, you know, Premier League roundup, blah, 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 blah. So the question I want to ask you guys for next week is who have been the fullbacks of the year, both left and... yeah, the left and right-sided fullbacks. We'll ignore the fact that that doesn't translate very well over camera. Thank you guys. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you really liked it, then please subscribe. Please comment anything below, anything you'd like me to discuss at all. Please share the video, and until next week.